Hi, and welcome to the devlog for The Waking of Haven. This is Kingfish, and I'm a solo dev working on my dream roguelite RPG/RTS. As we approach the launch of a closed beta in 7 days, more on that later, I'm now focusing less on core systems and instead diverting my attention to pesky little things like balance and fun. See, I have a pretty straightforward game loop. You wake up in Haven and pick up some supplies for your trip, including a starting squad. You then take off and start exploring an enchanted forest. In each clearing or map or scene or whatever, you need to fight off the main enemy who is defending a reward. This is what allows you to proceed to the next clearing, but there's also a lot of other little things to do before you move on. For example, there's a lot of resources scattered around which you can pick up and take back to Haven to build up the prosperity of the town. Once you're ready, you can move on, rinse and repeat. There's 2 problems that I've found so far. One, it's kind of easy to not get killed, but it's not fun to run around kiting the enemy for like 2 minutes. I need to find a way to force engagement as a way to make the player succeed quickly or die honorably, so to speak. 2, it's also no fun to finish up the main threat for a given map and then spend another couple of minutes scouring it for resources that may or may not be in each of the corners of the map. You see, I'm building a fairly fast-paced roguelite, not a walking simulator. And both of these problems have something in common. Challenges imposed by the game upon the player can currently be overcome simply by tedious patience, either kiting the enemy around or looting everything exhaustively. I could just let the player do this, but this is lazy game design. I should be incentivizing fun rather than causing the player to fall back on not fun approaches to overcome the game. Skyrim and Oblivion come to mind as pretty big offenders of this. Specifically with the hack where you can train your stealth just by crouching in some bar and auto-running into a corner. Sure, it works, and okay, it was kind of fun the first time when I realized that I could get away with it, but that fun runs out quickly when I basically can't avoid the exploitation to feel like I'm accomplishing the power fantasy that I came to the game to actually realize in the first place. So now I'm playing against the developers, not the game, and I don't want that for my game. Anyway, while mulling over this problem, I came to the realization that I could solve both problems with a similar set of solutions. And that is to never stop applying pressure to the player. Let me walk you through some of them. First of all, I added an ambient spawner so that no matter what, enemies will keep spawning onto the map. This won't be a ton or anything like that, but just enough to keep you engaged if you choose to poke around and keep looking for resources. So there's something to do. Second, periodic swarms or hordes will approach and attack the player. This poses a credible threat to the player, acting as both a deterrent to sticking around, giving them a chance to flee, but also gives them something to do while they poke around and collect resources. After all, enemies have experience and loot that they drop. Third, I've also added a threat timer, kind of like in Risk of Rain, which increases the passive difficulty of the game every 90 seconds. Most combat encounters can be accomplished in this time, after which the player has a dilemma. Do they move on, potentially leaving behind some resources, or do they stick around and get those resources, but let the passive difficulty increase more than it already would? And then lastly, I also added a mini-boss event which kicks off if a player has lingered for especially too long. You see, I want to give the player a feeling where after a certain point of their journey through the forest seems to especially come alive and become more hostile. More specifically, the denizens of the forest, the watchers, become more aggressive and eager to seek out the player. To pull off this effect, I warn the player that the watchers have noticed them and pull them to a specific point on the map where a dark binder waits for them, effectively forcing a fight. The player will need to defeat the Dark Binder if they want to proceed, but they're also tethered to a small radius around the fight, so they can't just kite their way out of it. They're stuck there, and they've got to confront the enemy. Now, don't get me wrong, skirmishing and kiting can still be a big part of the game and a big strategy. In fact, it's a core strategy to some factions, but it can't be infinite at the cost of fun. At some point, the player has to stand and fight. This is far, far more engaging than dying by boredom, and a core design problem for any roguelike or rogue-style game is finding a way to make death and rebirth, that cycle, fun and, importantly, as fast as possible. So I think I'm in a good place now, but I could use some feedback. If you've made it this far into the video, that's where I think you might be able to help me out. I'm kicking off a closed beta in 1 week, and I need some more testers to try out the game to let me know what's working and what isn't, and contribute to the discussions on how to improve. If you're interested in joining the closed beta and helping with the guidance of where the Waking of Haven is going to go in the future, please feel free to join our Discord for more info. Also, I want to be transparent about the process. As of right now, I have 24 subscribers, who I appreciate deeply, and about 50 Steam wishlists. But I would like to start getting the attention of more people to try out the game, provide feedback, and wishlist on Steam so that I could get a little bit more confident about taking this on full time. To do that, I really do need your help. A like, a comment, subscribing, or a wishlist would really mean the world to me, and it really does help the algorithm. Anyway, thank you so much and have an amazing day.